Hi, YouTube. Welcome to part 6 of Horizon Forbidden West with a therapist. We rockin'. The embassy is upon us. I was really expecting that this is what we were going to do in the last episode, and there's so much stuff to do in this game that we didn't get there. So we'll see what happens tonight. I really do hope that you have all been enjoying this so far. Please leave a like on this video to show me that you've been enjoying the playthrough so far. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Leave a comment if you feel so inclined, and check out the links down in the description. I would love to see you over on Twitch sometime. So, thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting what I do. Tell your friends. Let's see what's in front of us.
The Savior of Meridian. Can we have a word?
All right, we're off to a good start. The Savior of Meridian. That's me. That's me. I'm going to go save at this campfire real quick.
Aloy, I was hoping to see you around.
Haven't seen you around for a while.
All right, what up, fam?
Savior, tell me, are you seeking passage into no man's land by any chance?
Maybe. Why do you ask?
Well, to hammer it plain, there's treasure out west. Unclaimed scrap and ancient metal. And I've got a sturdy band of salvagers that knows the lay of the land.
You're not afraid of the Tanakh?
Terrified. But I carry out most of my business in no man's land. Neutral territory and all that. Barren Light is our port of entry. When its doors aren't closed for an embassy. I was hoping your arrival meant they might be opening soon. I've got a business to run, after all.
I want that embassy to happen as much as you do. Believe me, I'm working on it.
Good to know. And keep us in mind. If you do manage to open the way, our main camp will be just past Barren Light. We'll buy any scrap you've got on you. And if you're looking for machine parts, we've got the best in the West, guaranteed.
All right. Maybe later then.
If you could get those blasted gates open.
So this is like the Pawn Stars guy.
Guess I'm not
Salvage contracts. Okay, cool.
the only one who wants to get those gates open.
What's up, dude?
For all your salvaging needs, keep my crew in mind.
Suppose you heard back from that lazy brother of yours.
All right, let's do some exploring here.
Have to bring it up, huh?
Hey, look, another guy playing the game.
Let's play some Machine Strike.
Sorry, man. It's not good for viewership.
Time to put your shards to use.
Looking for a real challenge?
You want to talk, business, Aloy?
Oh, wow, you got here fast. All right, so she's there. Trade with Hunter. Weapons. Slicing Shredder Gauntlet. A carja weapon that uses tear ammo to slice enemies. Interesting. I don't really have anything that I want to sell. Resources. Tools, fast travel pack. I would like to purchase one. Or 5. It's a good way to start.
A fine trade. Come back to me.
Workbench action, weapon upgrades. For... Okay, outfit upgrades. Might as well. I have all of these things. Need one more Fanghorn Antler. Do that. All right. Pouch upgrades. Tripwire pouch, spike holster, quiver. I need raccoon hide. Ooh. I kind of want to go.
I thought you'd left by now.
I kind of want to go hunt for some raccoons just to get my arrow quiver up. Man, this is so cool. This thing brings the logs up, send the logs through, saws them in half. Like, these guys are efficient as hell. Look at that. Amazing.
She's covered in the whole vanguard.
And then they plop out right here, and you go build shit. The Osram are pretty impressive, man.
Sister! Over here!
Is this a catapult? What is this? These guys know what's up, man.
Oi, you're that Nora machine hunter.
Yeah, that's a me. Let's go up here. It's just so, like, lively.
Ignoring me again?
Who's yelling at?
I'll find you later. Yeah, you. Oh, hi.
Can I climb this rope? Ooh. There's a way to get up there.
Are you doing all
There.
right over there?
No one is allowed past this point. Commander Nozar's orders.
Oh, yeah? Look who's past this
Apologies,
point.
Savior. I can't let you pass.
Yeah, whatever.
There's Erend. Looks like he's had a few.
Savior, I need your help.
Don't embarrass yourself, soldier.
Savior, you're my last hope.
Conover. She's Meridian Savior, not yours.
It's just Aloy. What do you want?
Please, no one will listen. But the Eclipse... they're here in the Daunt.
Really, Conover? Aloy's the one that defeated them. You're bothering her with this hogwash now?
Some of them must have fled west after the battle at the Elite. I saw one of our sentries, Lorevic, sneaking off to meet with one. I tried to eavesdrop, but they spotted me. And then Lorevic tried to kill me. I... fought back. It was him or me.
Unfortunately, there's no hard evidence that connects Lorevic to the Eclipse. And since Conover doesn't deny killing his fellow soldier, Nozar sentenced him to death.
What makes you so sure Lorevic was working with the Eclipse?
Well, I was too far to hear everything. But I heard them both say the word Eclipse.
It's not the most outlandish claim I've heard, but it's up there.
Crying Eclipse is a convenient way to dodge a death sentence.
If I have to die, so be it. But if we ignore this threat, others are going to die too.
These types of missions are... They always make me kind of roll my eyes because they are intentionally kept cryptic in order to add this like intrigue to it where you got this carrot and you're just like unsure or whatever. Like these are hard because I'm not a lawyer. Aloy doesn't even play one on TV. I'm just somebody who has some degree of power to be able to help potentially. You are innocent until proven guilty. There's a reason we say it in that order. Better to let a guilty person walk than to give the death penalty to somebody who's innocent. What we know is that this guy killed his fellow soldier. So, like, if that's what we're working with and there's evidence of that and he doesn't deny it, like, I'm kind of with Aloy on, like, what do you got? And if he's, like, the only... I heard them say the word eclipse. Those guys could have been like, hey, in the year 2017, in what used to be Carbondale, Illinois, there was an eclipse. And the guy's like, an eclipse? What's that? Like, that's what could have happened. And this guy might have projected onto these people his own fears. And it would be understandable if he did. Like, that's kind of the sad thing is, like, if this guy had adverse experiences with the eclipse and is afraid of them and hears the word eclipse, rather than listen to the entirety of it or perhaps say, okay, I heard eclipse, but I didn't hear enough to make a judgment on whether I should kill this guy, he decided, based on his own assumptions and projections, that eclipse meant the eclipse are here. Might he be right? Maybe. Could he also be wrong? Yeah. So if that's his defense, yeesh. He killed a guy based on his own projections. I mean, he literally just admitted that to us. So it's going to be interesting to see what information we're able to gather. I'm sure there's going to be, if this is like any other one of these missions, and maybe it won't be, but if it's like any one of these other missions, I'm sure there's going to be a point where I'm going to have to say to that guard, release him or keep him in there. And we'll see what happens when I get there. Or I think the Eclipse was the best car Mitsubishi ever made. Right. I mean, there's any number of reasons why. Or they could just been like, man, thank God the Eclipse are dead. Oh, yeah, the Eclipse really scared the shit out of me, too. Like, there's any number of reasons that this could happen. So I appreciate that he's worried. I appreciate that he cares about the general populace, that he's worried that an Eclipse threat would be dangerous to them. But killing somebody like that with as limited of information as he has, where he can't really even defend himself right now, not a great decision, man.
Tell me exactly what happened.
Weeks ago, during a shift change, some trespassers slipped through the gate. By the time anyone noticed, they were halfway out the canyon. Nozar didn't see the need to give chase. Let the Tenakth take care of them, he said.
Nozar's not one to be sidetracked. He tightened up the patrol schedules, reprimanded the sentries, and everyone moved on.
But I couldn't stop thinking about it. None of us are careless out here, meaning someone left it open on purpose. And Lara...
Oh, boy. Okay. Look, this guy's going to be a real lesson in anxiety management, friends. And I'm going to try to say this with as much empathy as I possibly can. I realize there's more he's going to say. Uncertainty mixed with fear is a pretty nasty concoction. And it can lead people to get a bug in their head where this guy says, you know, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop indulging the intrusive thoughts I was having about the fact that perhaps the Eclipse are slipping through. What a lot of people tend to do with their anxiety is they seek a definitive explanation as a means to squash the uncertainty that is driving the anxiety. If you do as this guy did, which is where he said, it has to be the eclipse. This is happening. Just because you're ruminating on intrusive thoughts doesn't make those thoughts a reflection of reality. I'm going to say that again. Just because you have intrusive thoughts does not make those intrusive thoughts a reflection of reality. In fact, if you get a bug in your ear on something that you're anxious about and don't have a ton of evidence for, you would do well to engage in some reality checking, which is essentially asking yourself, what are the facts? What are the things that I know? My observations, my eyes and ears are one of the things that I can somewhat trust, and perhaps there are people that I can report these facts to. Facts are different than interpretations. A lot of people like to believe that their interpretations of facts are just as important. They are not. So this guy would do well to have engaged with some fact checking as a way to attempt to reassure himself and then lean into the anxiety of the uncertainty of not knowing whether it was eclipse or not, and then asking, what's the more healthy decision that I make here? Do I go report this to people that I trust? Do I tell people who are in positions of power that this is a thing that's happening? Now, I realize that he may not have gotten a fair shake with the audience, with people who are higher up. Like, I'm not naive to classist issues that might make it harder for somebody who's considered to be lowly to be heard on this type of thing. But to make the call that this is what happened and then orient his decision-making to that definitive answer in the absence of data that supports it fully is reckless. And it is something that you can do something about. You're not slave to your intrusive thoughts and the decisions that those intrusive thoughts may lead you to want to make. Be intentional about how you intercept those things, and you might prevent yourself from being in a precarious situation like this guy is in.
Vic, well, he's always grumbling about officers. But on this, he was too quiet. And after the incident, he started acting different, jumpy. So when I spotted him sneaking out of the barracks after hours, I followed. I found him arguing with a stranger. And when Larovic mentioned the eclipse, I tried getting closer, but they heard me. The stranger took off, and Larovic lunged at me with his knife. Instincts took over.
Okay, so he defended himself. According to him. According to him.
Sentries heard the scuffle and found me standing over his body.
Okay, again, the other guy's not here to give us his side. Okay, so it is. Look, this is the hardest part about thinking systemically sometimes. Okay, and this is what I very specifically am trained to do as an MFT. This guy is reporting his side of things. This guy has the capability of crafting a narrative that suits his best interest, which would be to survive and potentially get out of jail. Is there a possibility that what he just told me is absolutely true? Yes. There is an absolute possibility that everything he just said is true. There is also a chance that none of what he said is true. And there's a chance that some of what he said is true. Now again, yes, the assumption that he is innocent until proven guilty absolutely holds. The thing is, this guy has stated he did kill this guy. Like, he's not denying that he killed the guy. So perhaps it was because he was defending himself. Perhaps there was something else that went on. We don't have the other guy here to interview and ask and push into the details of his story. Now, I realize that not everybody is a huge fan of her, but I'm going to give just a quick nod to like Judge Judy. Because if you watch Judge Judy, which I watched a significant amount of when I was in high school and college, and still occasionally watch, and I'm not here to endorse Judge Judy, but one of the things that Judge Judy does as a way to try to make a determination on how to determine where she's going to rule is she will ask questions that are going in a direction that the people who have crafted their story can't engage with and answer to their story at the same time unless their story is true. Knowing how to ask good questions is a very important skill if you're going to try to get yourself in the middle of this type of situation, where you might ask about certain specifics that you would really only have a good answer for, but wouldn't have to think about if you were there and it went as you described. Like, generally, things have to make sense. So if we had the other guy here and he told his story, we could start asking certain questions where it would start to become clear where the story aligns and where it was crafted. Because the reality is, you will never craft a story that is more detailed than the actual truth of a thing that happened. And if you're good at questioning, you can usually get that figured out. There's a bit of that type of questioning that I have to use if I'm ever working with high conflict couples who are trying to report about a certain like incident or argument that they had. Because people will generally tell stories that are in their best interest and are advocating for their own self-preservation. It's just a natural part of what we do. So anyway, again, my assumption is that this guy, I mean, the thing that we have to operate off of is this guy's word that he was defending himself. And that may be true. And without having the other guy here, we would need evidence that suggests that he was not defending himself and that he indeed provoked the attack, which might mean we need eyewitness testimony or whatever the hell else. Anyway, it's complicated. But my point in all of this is that this guy is interested in pushing whatever his narrative is. If it's true, the more questioning that you give and the more detailed you get going in your own type of direction, the more likely you are to figure out whether this guy is stuck on a story or whether he's actually talking about what happened.
Why don't you believe him?
We combed the woods, searched Larovik's bunk, searched it again, didn't find anything. Look, Conover's a good man. I don't believe he murdered Larovik in cold blood. But Nazar only listens to facts. And that fact is, Conover killed his fellow sentry. He doesn't deny it, right?
No, but more eclipses are out there.
And considering there's no evidence backing up this eclipse story, well, we can't question a dead man. Nozar's on edge with the upcoming embassy and doesn't want distractions. But hey, if you find a bunch of eclipse soldiers hatching an evil plot in the woods, please do let us know.
Put a waypoint on my map and I'll go to exactly where you tell me to go and I'll find him.
The meeting you witnessed. Did you hear anything else about their plans?
No. But the clearing where they met is just east of here, across the river.
A dozen soldiers have already searched it, Conover. There's nothing there.
I can see things others can't. If the Eclipse are in the Daunt, I'll find them.
Thank you, Aloy. Sun bless your search.
Don't get your hopes up, soldier.
Cool, right? If I go over there and there's nothing, then hey, whatever you gotta do, fellas.
How goes it, Hammerhead?
You know, it's not my job to. I'm not a judge here, but. I'll talk to Erend in a little bit. I actually want to go. I want to go do this.
What?
So let's go see what's happening. I mean, I appreciate that the guards were willing to go comb that part of the valley. Like, I gotta say, like, the fact that they gave that guy the benefit of the doubt and said, all right, cool, we'll go investigate it. They didn't turn anything up. It gets really tough. Because it's like, dude, we can only work with what we've got. Like, I appreciate that the guy's like, look, I can work with facts. That's all I got. You killed a guy. And we don't have any evidence that's gonna, like, make it so that you're clear on this. And if we've got protocols we got to follow with that, we got protocols we got to follow with that. So let's see what happens. Go to the clearing. All right, here we are.
This must be the clearing where Conover says he saw the eclipse. Bloodstains. It's as good a place to start as any.
Bloodstains. Where? Oh, Jesus. What do you mean you didn't find anything? Oh, that's just red pigment, guys. Don't worry about it.
Pretty sure this is where Conover killed that guard. Maybe my focus can tell me if there really was a third person here.
Oh, okay, so if that's where he killed... Okay, I guess that makes sense. This is kind of... like...
I see plenty of tracks from the Karja search party. Not helpful. Broken branches. Was someone up here?
There's a lot of wildlife up here. That's a tough one. Human dung? There had to be one here. Oh.
Faint tracks. Leading away from Barren light. I should be able to follow them with my focus. Let's see where this leads. Maybe Conover wasn't lying after all.
If I see any raccoons, I gotta kill them along the way. Like that one. Here, kitty, kitty.
Lost the trail. There's too many machines walking around.
Oh my god.
Maybe I can pick up the tracks once I'm past them. Should be easy to follow the trail up ahead now.
Wait. The tracks. Where are the tracks? Tracks.
Blood. A lot of it. Whoever the runner was, this machine must have slashed him. Should be easy to follow the blood trail with my focus. Looks like they headed for that bridge.
I mean, it is interesting that there's blood splatter. But I guess they wouldn't have seen that directly from that spot. Okay.
Not a bad view of Barren light, if I wanted to spy on it. Bandages. Looks like the runner tried to treat their wounds before they went on. I should be able to follow their tracks. Where did you go off to?
If they're smart, they would have jumped in the river. Dude, if the Eclipse are back, this is gonna be nutty.
The trail ends here. Must have climbed up to that cave. With
Guy's
that
got a-
injury, I'll bet he's on his last legs.
I was just say, that guy's got a busted ass body and he's making these like crazy ass climbs.
Make an interesting color for my armor. This looks like a good place for someone to hide.
Whoa, it's like an old highway tunnel. I can open trunks? What? Haha. That's awesome.
What are we supposed to do now? We stay on track and make our way out west.
If we give up now, these are no words. We have to find Ezra.
In his shadow, we will find strength.
I say we kill the line.
And take on a whole garrison. Won't be easy.
My focus seems to think that these are Eclipse cultists based on the subtitles it's giving me. I don't like that the subtitles give that away.
We don't know Larvik's dead. He hasn't shown at the rendezvous point. So either that fool guard killed him, or he's lost his nerve.
Oh, well.
We'll just have to blast our way through the gates.
And then what? Rayad was our only link to Vezra, and now he's dead too.
We'll track Vezra if we have to. But first we have to get past Barren Light. Next change of guard, we go in fast and loud.
Conover was right. I have to stop them before they hurt anyone else.
Surprise, motherfucker! Small fries!
Hey, over there.
Crossed eyes!
No more sneaking around.
Tie dyes! Darkened Sun. Text log, data corruption minimal. We are the Eclipse, elite of the Shadow Karja. We did as Hades, the buried shadow, commanded. We followed the prophecy at High Priest Bahavas foretold. We wore the relics of the Old Ones, allowing us to share whispers across the Sundom. We raised an army of ancient machines to lay siege to the traitors who had stolen our holy city of Meridian. All for naught. The accursed Nora Huntress slew our leaders and brought the buried shadow low. What are the faithful to do when prophecy fails them? Perhaps it has not. Bahava spoke of a cosmic cycle cut short by the murder of the true Sun King Jiran, the world cast in shadow, the wheel of time broken, an unending day under a darkened sun. What if this period of prophecy is not yet complete? What if the buried shadow was not a deliverer, but only a harbinger? If this is true, our mission hasn't ended. It has barely begun. And it could very well be that the west, land of the setting sun, is where true power lies. Ooh.
Takes care of that. I'm sure there's more of them outside. I better be careful. No shots left. And that takes care of that. It sounds like there's more Eclipse beyond the Daunt. If this Rayad was their only link to them, he might have a focus. It could tell me where they are.
Man, it's really a shame that I didn't, like, keep one of these guys alive and take them back to the town, you know?
Pack's full, but my stash has room. I'm guessing that's Rayad. Blood trail must have been his. He bled out trying to get here. I was right. Rayad has a focus.
Loyal Eclipse. If you're seeing this, it means you've left the Sundom in search of something to follow. Your journey is almost over. Follow the sun beyond the gates of Barren light, and bask in the glow of future conquest. A new empire awaits.
I'll have to pay this Vezra a visit and crush his new Eclipse empire before it begins. There's coordinates here, out past Barren light.
I'm gonna tell you what.
Rayad's mask should be enough to...
I wouldn't join the Eclipse for the very fact that all of them like to annoyingly monologue and are pretentious and self-indulgent as hell. My God, you just have to be, like, just insufferably full of yourself, but you disguise it as being interested in the greater good. Like, just, oh, God, they all are just like, ugh.
Prove Conover's innocence. I better take it back to Barren light.
Like, every meeting for them just must be, like, masturbatory in, like, the worst way. And I realize that look, the same cult stuff that we talked about in the last episode does apply for them. I have no doubt that they prey on vulnerable people as a way to, like, push their cause. But, man, the leaders in this cult are annoying. Alright, well, that exonerates him. Cool. I'll let them decide what they want to do with it.
When we fought the Eclipse back in Meridian, I thought that'd be the end of it. Guess I was wrong.
Yeah, unfortunately, Aloy, they're pretty powerful. I really appreciate the way that Guerrilla has primed us for what we're going to run into when we go out west. Like, that's a really clever way of basically being like, nah, Eclipse aren't gone. You might have thought they're gone. They're not gone. You're still going to have to deal with it. Oh, ye, gamer. I wouldn't mind another raccoon before I go back to town. Just saying. You think the Eclipse are basically like the Donner Party 2.0? Like they're literally like we're going west no matter what. They're like eating each other right now. Out in Colorado. Or out in Nevada. Also, I've always thought it was quite unfortunate that Donner Party sounds so similar to Dinner Party. Is it too soon for those jokes? There we go. God damn it, I only got one raccoon hide. Damn it.
I've been mulling over a design, but I can't make it work.
Okay, so what's the way I'm actually supposed to get to him? Yeah, this way.
There's Erend. Looks like he's had a few.
Oh no! He's off the wagon. What the hell? Why? This is so not intuitively designed. What are you doing? Alright.
Look alive, soldier. She's back.
Aloy! Did you find anything?
Eclipse fugitives were camped out on the other side of the forest. And they were getting ready to fight their way through Barren Light. You just helped save a lot of lives.
Aloy, you know I believe you. But Nozar? He might not be convinced by your words alone.
If he needs proof, show him that. And tell him the man he's got locked up risked his life to expose and eliminate an Eclipse spy.
Huh. I guess you are his savior. Congratulations, soldier. You're a free man. I'll have you out of there before sunfall. I'll make sure this gets to Nozar.
That's it then. The end of the Eclipse.
Almost.
Whoa, oh man. Okay, well, call me this is just DrMick's a personal degree of cynicism here, but like, unless I either I'm taking that mask to him or I'm walking with you when you give him that mask. I'm not one to fully trust the legal system here. Like, her just giving that dude, if anything, I'm handing the prisoner the mask and I'm saying, you hold on to this until he comes to your cell. Like, Aloy giving that to the guard. Whoa. Like, I'm not into it. like either I'm going with you or I'm giving it to the guy in the cell. And then this other guy can make his determination there. But wow, what a lot of trust to put in there. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me. I don't like that. But whatever. It's just no analysis. Just feels icky to me.
The trespassers you mentioned, the ones who got through Barren Light weeks ago, their leader's dangerous. And he's out there, in the Forbidden West, building up an army.
Sun and Shadow, you're going out there to stop him, aren't you?
I'm gonna try.
I want to help. I can fight.
I know you can. But you've been through a lot. Once you're out of that cell, you should enjoy your freedom. You've earned it.
Take them out, Savior.
Bro, you better take that mask to the guy. Because if I come back here and this dude's dead or in this cell, I'm going to be pissed. If I'm like updating this, I'm basically never going to use it. All right. Shadow in the west, go to the Eclipse hideout coordinates. We can do that. But first, let's talk to Erend. This is going to be interesting.
Good to be working again.
Dude, hand washing these floors seems like that would be awful.
Ankle hurts worse every minute.
That's because you stopped drinking.
That'll just give me more suffering come morning.
All right, walk it off then.
I can barely limp.
You keep saying things, but all I'm hearing is a lack of determination.
Okay.
Gentlemen.
That's our cue.
Oh boy.
Taking the edge off?
Well, if the end of the world's coming, I don't be sober for it. Now let me guess. You're in a rush, right? So whatever you need, ask away.
I'm really enjoying the complexity of this dynamic between Aloy and Erend. Because boy, is it complicated. Erend and Aloy both get to be frustrated with each other. Like, Erend gets to be disappointed, hurt, all of these things, and Aloy gets to be frustrated with the manifestation of that. Watching this conversation is going to be interesting, because if the two of them get lost in their emotional experience, this is going to go badly. If I was going to orchestrate this conversation between the two of them, the very first place that I would start is ensuring that both Aloy and Erend acknowledge and validate each other's emotional experience. So it would be to ask something like, how are you doing? What's going on for you? How are we doing? If Erend says, I'm still pissed at you, it would be to get Aloy to say, all right, I hear that you're pissed. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you for telling me. And vice versa. Now, here's the problem. This conversation is absolutely constrained by the fact that Erend is under the influence of alcohol. Two of the primary things that happen when people are under the influence of alcohol is their judgment becomes much more poor, and their general inhibitions are no longer as prominent. So if Erend has been injecting certain coping strategies or means of preventing himself from engaging with the true anger and disappointment and hurt that he has with Aloy, and his better judgment has been telling him to manage it on his own and not go at her, there's a chance that those two things may not be in place during this conversation. And if Erend shows himself to not be in a position to engage in this conversation in a meaningful way due to the fact that he's under the influence, Aloy should walk away from it. People are capable of having deep conversations while under the influence. Like, I'm not trying to suggest that if a person's had a drink, you shouldn't talk to them. Like, you can absolutely have meaningful conversations with people while they're, to an extent, once people become inebriated, you're not generally going to be productive. But I'm going to kind of do my play-by-play thing that I do occasionally as we go through this conversation, because I'm very interested in this dynamic between the two of them. So where do you start? Oh boy. How have you been doesn't feel like a great place to start, because it feels quite disingenuous. I could absolutely see Erend responding to that being like, what, you really care? If you cared, you wouldn't have bailed on me. So, like, not necessarily a great place to start, because I think that that really misses the mark on the general dynamic that's already present in their relationship. Ursa is an immensely vulnerable thing to start this conversation with, and if I attribute the fact that he's drinking again to the fact that he might be thinking about Ursa, again, that's coming in guns blazing on a relationship that's not in a very good space right now, so I don't necessarily want to go there. So Barren Light or the Embassy are probably the better places to start, because it opens the door to get a feel for where Erend's at. And I'm going to track not just what he says when he answers these questions, but what his general attitude is and how he engages with me in the way that he answers them. And then that's how you're going to make your determination of how you want to proceed and potentially go to more depth. It is so important to understand the general context and situation that you're in with a person when you go to engage with them, when there's obviously tension. All right. So, the Embassy. Let's start there.
What do you know about the Embassy?
I know not much. Only that Avad really wants it to happen. He said I'm making peace with these Tanakh. But from what I hear, they're not too big on the whole diplomacy thing. They do most of their talking with blades and arrows. So if you're heading their way, be prepared. Things might get ugly real fast.
I'll keep that in mind.
Mocap is chef's kiss, man. He's pretty tipsy. Like, he's got the eyes going. Okay, so, like, he's present, he's answering questions, but he is absolutely under the influence. Now, what I find interesting about the way that he answered that question is that he has resigned himself, it seems, to the fact that Aloy's going to do what she's going to do, and that she very likely doesn't have any interest in him coming with. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Erend has already personalized Aloy's flying solo. In the sense that I think it probably has him in this space of, am I incompetent? What is it about me that I'm just like not worth taking along, despite the fact that I've even done some things to help? So I would have to guess that part of his narrative here is she doesn't want to take me. I'm not going to convince her otherwise. So I've resigned myself to accepting the fact that she's just going to do what she's going to do. And so when she gives me that, when she asks me a question, I'm going to give her the answer, and I'm not even going to waste my time asking her to go with. That's a consequence of Aloy's actions. It's absolutely a choice that Erend is making, but that is a consequence of the way that Aloy's treated him. And so if Aloy comes into this conversation at this point with an expectation that Erend's going to want to tag along and offer his services, that's an unrealistic expectation for him. She has cultivated this acceptance because she has engaged in a pattern of behavior at this point. It's not some one-off thing. So we're dealing with somebody who, in some ways, this is great because we're going to just get him to give us information. It's also sad because he is resigning himself to the fact that he's not as important to Aloy as she is to him, at least not in a functional sense. Because Aloy hasn't really let on that he means much to her. And it's not something that we can just expect Erend to read her mind, where she would go, well, of course you care. Of course I care about you. Like, no, you got to give him something if you want to. I absolutely believe, Lum, that his relationship with Ursa is part of what is dictating some of this narrative that he carries about not being good enough and not being useful. I think he did that whole split with Ursa, which we talked about extensively in the Zero Dawn playthrough, and Erend's go-to tends to be really deep self-doubt that he tends to bring on as true. And again, the drinking, I think, is a way for him to try to numb some of that out. And unfortunately, I think it brings him more in touch with it in a way that he doesn't want to be. So, when he says, like, you're going to go out there by yourself, so go watch your back. Here's what here's what you should know. He's trying to take care of her, but he's also keeping his distance. He's really acknowledging that she's going to do her thing no matter what.
What do you know about this place?
Well, nothing good. It's where the Carja dragged all the captives they took from the Forbidden West during the Red Raids. Lucky ones became slave labor. The rest were hauled off to the Sun Ring and Meridian.
Your sacrifice.
You got it. Tenakth made sure to wreck the place before they chased the Carja out of the West. I can't say I blame them. And now Avad's paying the Osram to rebuild it. And no matter how much new stone they put up, it'll still be stained in blood.
All right, we're going to go, how have you been, before we go Ursa. So we've opened the door. We've gotten a conversation. Now we go to how have you been, to see if we can work our way down the vulnerability chute.
How have things been since
Your silent departure? Yeah, not bad. Vanguard's going strong. Helped Avad pick up the pieces after the battle with the Eclipse. I took a month to bury Ursa in the claim.
Him finishing her sentence there is a narrative power grab. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. Okay? When he steps in there to make sure that she just doesn't say, how have you been since, things. He goes, how's it been since you bailed on us? Fine. That's him taking control of their interpersonal narrative. That's him essentially saying, this is the truth. And I'm not going to let you get away with diminishing the impact that had on me and on us. That is a thing that you have to be very careful with using. It's a powerful tool of self-advocacy that if you use it too often or too maliciously can start to make it where you're essentially hijacking the entire narrative and you're making it about you. I don't think that's what Erend's doing here. I think that Erend is really trying to make sure that Aloy knows she hurt him and that matters to him. And I think that's okay for him to do. I think at some point he has to drop it, insofar as if Aloy is not really seeming to care much about it and isn't giving him the engagement he needs, at some point he's going to have to resign himself to the fact that, like, Aloy just can't get there, and now he has to decide what he's going to do. But he's staying standoffish, and he needs to, because he knows she's going to leave. He knows she's going off by herself. He knows she's going to the Forbidden West. And I think in him mentioning Ursa here, in the way that he is, there's a chance, not saying that this is what he's doing, but there's a real chance that the reason that he just mentioned that to her is to passively let her know that there have been some real things that he's done that she wasn't there for. Wouldn't be surprised if he would have appreciated that Aloy was there for that. Like, it's a way of illustrating the way in which he was hurt by this. Like, yes, is the fact that he went and did that a thing and he's sharing that as news? Absolutely. But I don't think it's any accident that he's bringing that up to Aloy as a way to say, like, hey, I was there for you. I helped you with your stuff. I swallowed some of my assumptions and preconceived notions. I leaned into the discomfort with you. That was really vulnerable for me to do. I started to pick myself up. I started to engage with a sense of self-esteem. I was prepared to deal with the emotions of my sister and what it meant to lose her. And you were a person who I associate with that growth and with that process. You are a transitional object between having my sister around and coping with the fact that she's no longer here. And after all the dust settled and we went through all of this and I fought with you and I was by your side, you bailed on me. And it would have been really awesome if you could have returned the favor. Not even for any kind of romantic interest, but just because we're two humans that have this shared experience and have a degree of intimacy that was available to us. And I, in some ways, feel used by you. It doesn't negate the fact that Erend did all of this self-work with Aloy as a proxy. But it really does illustrate just how powerful Aloy ghosting them like that was. Like, this is truly at the heart of why ghosting people, particularly people that matter to you a lot and haven't really done anything to deserve it, is a really not cool thing to do. Because he didn't have many people. His friend, I forget his name, the Osram guy, left. He went with his family and left. Olin, I think. Erend didn't have anybody except Aloy. And if Aloy didn't want the pressure of that, it's Aloy's responsibility to say, Erend, I'm not there. I really appreciate that you trust me with this and that you want me to be a part of it, but that's not the kind of relationship I want to have with you. But she didn't give him that. She left him to his insecurities. And yes, he could say it's not about me and he could do all that depersonalization. Like, that is his work to do. I don't know that he had those skills yet.
But when I got back, I got the assignment to babysit Voidis on his way to the embassy. I thought that'd be a cakewalk, so of course things went sideways.
You got blindsided. Wasn't your fault.
A couple more of these, maybe I'll believe you.
There it is. There it is. This is what he does. He doesn't trust himself. He has a transcendental narrative that he engages with and sees pattern in this behavior of, if I'm involved, shit fails. Of course, if I thought it was going to be a cakewalk, it was going to go sideways. And the statement that's underneath that is, my judgment is ass. I am not attuned. I suck at this. Aloy attempts to step in and provide an alternative narrative. Shit happens, not your fault. And while that indeed may be true, and there is a lot of complexity to that situation, the way that Erend chooses to contextualize these things that happen is to assimilate it into the idea that he cannot do anything right, that he's a loser. And so many people in Erend's position will try to convince me, a therapist, that that narrative is the truth. That narrative is unshakable. And I am here to tell you that that narrative is a choice. That is a decision. You decide to perpetuate that narrative. You decide whether you pick and choose data that perpetuates that narrative. At any point in time, you can choose to try to counter that narrative. And Erend was starting to do that. I do not believe that it was healthy for him to overly associate Aloy with that work. I do think that Erend at some point needed to recognize that this is work that he wants and needs to do for himself, and that Aloy is a proxy for it, but is not the reason, is not in control of that. I think when Aloy left, he released himself of the accountability that he has for changing that narrative. He downloads it into Aloy. And Aloy is willing to soak that up. Aloy is literally standing here and counters his self-deprecating narrative by saying it wasn't your fault. And we see him say, well, I need to drink more to believe that. So he's back in this old pattern, which is really a bummer. But the work in this case is on Erend to reauthor that transcendental narrative. Because if he doesn't do that, this is the kind of decision making he's going to continue to make. He's going to keep sitting on carts drinking, feeling sorry for himself. And at some point, the people around him are going to lose empathy for that because they're going to get closer and closer to understanding that he's the one that's responsible for changing this and nobody's responsible for feeling sorry for him.
I was, wondering if you were able to lay Ursa to rest, like you wanted.
Yeah, we did. Just seemed the crowd that showed up to pay their respects. Half of them owed her a favor, and the other half owed her their lives. In the end, everybody drank. You know, it's the rowdiest funeral since ever.
Feels like she would have liked that.
Yeah, damn straight. Damn straight. She would have put them all under the table.
Oh. Okay. I really hope everybody watching this watched the Zero Dawn playthrough where I talked about splitting, because I'm not going to completely re-explain that concept. I'm going to take Aloy out of this for a second, and I'm going to explain why I think that funeral was probably particularly brutal for him beyond the obvious, which is that he was burying his sister. When we talked about the split, in a very TLDR kind of way here, when we talked about the splitting back in Zero Dawn, the core component of this is that Erend holds his sister in such high regard that he sees himself as very incompetent relative to her competence. So any event or circumstance that happens that shows just how amazing Ursa was is a reminder to him that he's not as good. And it gets him wrapped up in that narrative that I was just talking about. The self-deprecating transcendental narrative. So, when he's at this funeral and people show up in droves to commemorate how amazing his sister was and how meaningful she was, he can't help but indulge a comparison. And unfortunately, he's comparing the data of his sister to his own worries and insecurities. So he looks at that event and sure, he's excited about his sister. He gets to engage with the fact that he loved his sister. He's proud of his sister, the accomplishments she had, the impact that she had. And then he looks at himself and says, I'm still a buffoon. Look at me. I helped at the Battle of Meridian. I had a key role at the Battle of Meridian. And the person that I really valued and followed into the dark on that and helped me get to that point where I felt empowered enough to do that, bailed on me. I'm not even good enough to keep Aloy around. I'm not even meaningful enough to Aloy that she'd show up to this event that she knows is probably the most important event of my adult life so far. And because he tends to personalize things, it must be my fault. all of a sudden I am smacked in the face with the reality that I don't see myself as capable of my sister. So then he's sitting in all those emotions and experiences at that wedding, and people start drinking and they're all having a great time. He starts drinking, and there's a good chance that those feelings might have gone away. And those thoughts and those narratives might have been drowned out a little bit. And so now here he is, off the wagon, sitting on a cart, drinking and thinking about it, looking at Aloy, a person who really hasn't given him the time of day that he would consider to be meaningful and an acknowledgement of who he is as a person. Now, I say all the time in these streams that you are not entitled to another person being in some form of relationship with you, whether that's romantically or whether it is a friendship. Like, he's not entitled to Aloy. But for Aloy to show up and do this kind of half in, half out, talk to Erend when it's useful for her, when she can get information, but don't really give, like, that's not great. And I think he has every right to be frustrated by that. And I think if Erend said, you know what, Aloy, this is too painful for me. I don't really want to engage with you. He is well within his right to do that. Just sucks, man, because like he's back in his crap, and it really is just a bummer. I think Erend Erend never said he was going to stop drinking, but Erend did diminish his use of alcohol as a way to manage his emotional experience in Zero Dawn. That was pretty clear. Like, his drinking right now, I think, is probably, it's more than just recreational. Like, he's literally sitting here just in his feelings, getting drunk. And again, you want to do that every now and then. I'm not anti-alcohol here, but like, this is not the healthy relationship with alcohol. This is the unhealthy relationship with alcohol. I mean, I have a lot of empathy for him and his struggle with this. And I think, you know, to be fair to Aloy, I don't expect perfection from Aloy. Aloy grew up on her own. Aloy is not somebody that forms really strong attachments with people. Aloy had Rost. Rost died. She never really got a chance to like really see all that through in any kind of meaningful way because Rost had, in effect, said, I'm going to bail on you when you go to the Nora. She has not learned a meaningful way in adulthood to facilitate the sophisticated, intimate relationship that I'm suggesting is possible between the two of them. All right, I'm not naive to that. This is absolutely the result of neither one of them possessing strong interpersonal skills. And really, if nothing else, if you take away from this moment here, it's that, like, this is stuff you have to learn. Like, this isn't stuff that just like comes naturally to people. There are some people that might have more of an affinity for this kind of thing than others, but like, this is not easy. This is why therapy exists. Like, I spent 9 years of college learning to be able to pick these things out in an interpersonal engagement. Why I do these streams is to share this stuff with all of you, because this is not stuff that's intuitive. This is stuff that people have to really understand is happening and then do something with when they are aware of it. And neither one of them possesses fully developed skills to a point that they are capable of having that conversation in the way that I'm essentially trying to facilitate it. Which is why I wish I could sit here and help the two of them out, because I really believe that if you gave me about 2 hours with them, I could get them back on track. This is really difficult stuff. This is real. Like, this is a beautiful representation of how poorly people handle things when they're hurt, because they don't know how. And their contexts play a gigantic role in the way in which they approach this. I don't know a lot about Erend's history. I know way more about Aloy's history. And Aloy's history would absolutely suggest that this is not something that she would be particularly good at navigating. But my hope would be that she could read the feedback from Erend here and really listen to him and the impact that because he's done a pretty decent job articulating the impact that she's had on him, and file that away and say, man, I really don't want to do that kind of thing again. If she doesn't want to, how can I avoid this in the future? And maybe even ask Erend that. Now, for those of you that have asked, is Erend now substituting his sister with Aloy? I do not believe that that is the case. That is the kind of question you'd have to ask Erend, but I do not believe that Aloy is a replacement for his sister. I don't actually think she ever has been. I think that Aloy is somebody that he saw as having the potential to facilitate a meaningful relationship with, so that he could navigate some of the issues that are going on with his sister. But I don't think he sees Aloy as a sister. Now, there may be some like real old school psychoanalytic therapist that would disagree with me here and say, oh yeah, he's absolutely replaced Ursa with Aloy. And Aloy sort of represents all the things that his sister was, and he's engaging with her via his projections as the result of the fact that she's filling that gap, and he has all these unresolved issues. Like, I could go down that line. I don't know about that. I think he's just bummed that Aloy hasn't been available to him in the way that he's been available to her.
I better get going.
Right, you'll have to do complicated Aloy things. Maybe just don't disappear completely this time.
No promises.
I'm giving my boy some big props right now. If I'm orchestrating this conversation between the two of them and I hear Erend say that, and then maybe if I could intercept Aloy, or after Aloy says that, I am pausing. I'm literally stopping Erend from saying what he's about to say. And I am going to say to Aloy, what I just heard from Erend when he said, try not to do it without, try not to fall off the face of the earth completely, or whatever it was that he said. That's Erend, I think, extending an olive branch. I think that's Erend being vulnerable here. I think Erend is telling you that the ghosting part of it is what hurt. That he respects that you do things on your own, but that not being communicated with is what hurt. And I think him saying that there is an acknowledgement of that. And Erend, I give you a lot of credit in sitting in this conversation that was very vulnerable for you. I really appreciate you softening there and saying that to her. No matter how well-intentioned, Aloy making a joke there is a miss. So I would look at Aloy and say, that joke about how, I'm not making any promises, while I can appreciate that that may be coming from a place of rapport that you think you have with him, I think that's the kind of response that's going to shut Erend down. That's effectively a punishment for his vulnerability. So if you have it in you to respond to him differently and acknowledge that this is something that matters to him, I think that would go a long way for repairing your relationship. That's what I would say. Because when Aloy made that joke, you see his face change. If you're on YouTube, rewind this and watch the way he reacted when she said that. He took a step there. He leaned in. And Aloy is like, because I think his vulnerability makes her uncomfortable. Aloy has shown a pattern of that. I think when Aloy is in the presence of vulnerability, she gets uncomfortable, in part because she doesn't know how to handle it. Yeah, like if Aloy had said, I'll try, or I'll do what I can, or whatever, like some sort of acknowledgement. Now, again, if Aloy's in a position where she's like, I'm not coming back, and I'm not going to say anything, and I am going to ghost you, then then fine. Okay? If Aloy's agenda here is not to form any kind of intimate connection with Erend, do your thing, girl. I'm not here, not going to stop you. But if Aloy and Erend were in my office saying to me, we want to figure out a way to facilitate a meaningful relationship with each other, I'm intercepting the shit out of that. And I'm very interested to see what he's going to say here.
I guess what I'm really trying to say is, if you ever do need me...
I know where to find you. Hopefully sober next time.
Don't count on it. Be careful out there, Aloy.
This is a little better. But, I mean, look at that. He's trying. He is trying really hard. That is... 15 minutes ago, I just had a conversation with all of you about a transcendental narrative of self-deprecation and not believing in himself and thinking that he's worthless. And in that moment, right there, for 1 second, Erend countered that narrative. 1 second, he had a moment where he had a choice. His choice was to indulge that narrative and say, she didn't want anything to do with me. She ain't going to ask me along. I ain't even going to go there because I'm a piece of shit and I'm going to sit here and feel sorry for myself. Or I could do something different. I can kick that narrative to the curb for a second. I can entertain the possibility that there is a chance that I could be useful to her based on data that in the past I have been. And I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to give her a chance. I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to say, if at some point you decide you need me, I'm here. You let me know. I'm willing to put some of this stuff aside and move forward and help you. Dude, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. Like what he just did there is so massive. And Aloy gave him a bit of an acknowledgement. Okay, to give her credit, I do appreciate that she said, I know where to find you. I do think that that's the Aloy way of saying, I will. I think her saying, preferably sober next time, is also okay. I think that's reasonable. I also think that's in Aloy's way, an attempt to take care of him and suggest that you are useful to me when you are not sitting on a cart drunk, feeling sorry for yourself. That's real feedback. And they do resort to humor as a way to try to cut the tension. But that exchange right there is a very important one for their relationship. Big golf clap to Erend. And a small golf clap to Aloy. And apparently every time Erend and Aloy talk, I'm going to do an analysis for like an hour. Thanks for sticking with me. If you're still watching the YouTube video right now, thanks for sticking with me. Hope you enjoyed that. If you've got thoughts on it, I'd be curious to know what they are.
Oh, hi!
Lighten up, Paiv. You've got a thick wall of stone between you and the Tanakh up there.
Yes, sir.
Why the long face, Mavas? Wish you were heading out there?
No, sir.
Don't worry. If the Tanakh were planning to invade, they'd have done so already.
If you say so, sir.
Interesting that this guy is trying to reassure these people. That's an acknowledgement that there's real tension and things to be worried about.
Are you in charge around here?
Ah, apologies, no. That would be Commander Nozar. I'm Lawan, his second in command. So, what brings Aloy of the Nora to Barren Light?
I'm here for the embassy. I need it to happen so I can head west. And maybe now that Studious Wadis is here, we can finally get things underway.
Yes, the Sun Priest. Walked in practically kicking and screaming behind his escort. Really seems to like his scrolls. But the embassy remains delayed. Commander Nozar has signaled our readiness, but the Tanakh marshals have yet to sound their horn.
All right, fine. Let me through the gates then. I have my own business with them.
I'm sure you do, but I'm afraid I can't. Commander's orders. Normally, the gates are open for any who dare to venture out. Oseram salvagers, a few especially brazen Karja, but no one's allowed in or out before an embassy. They'll reopen, once the Tanakh have left.
You said something about Tanakh marshals. Who are they?
They're the tribe's elite warriors. Before every embassy, they arrive with a contingent of soldiers from each of their 3 clans. Then, during the proceedings, they negotiate on behalf of their leader. And by negotiate, I mean stare down our Sun Priest until they concede. Paiv over here came face to face with them for the first time at the last embassy. Came back drenched in his own sweat.
It was hot that day, sir.
It was indeed.
So what happens at these embassies, exactly?
Mostly trade and negotiation. The Karja offered tribute of food, spices, and gear. In exchange, the Tanakh returned personal effects taken from Karja soldiers that fell during the Red Raids. This particular embassy, however, is a special case.
Because the Tanakh, they're handing over some sort of prisoner, right? A soldier named Fashav?
Ah, so you've heard. The exchange has got everyone on edge. You never know if an embassy's going to go well until it's practically over.
Where is this Commander Nozar, then? If he's the one keeping the gates shut, I'll convince him to open them for me.
I'll take you to him, but I have to warn you. The commander isn't one to break protocol, especially when he's already high-strung.
We'll see about that.
Oh. Yeah, I love how he's just like, all right, cool.
This way.
There's a lot of activity going on around here.
The Tanakh tore down this place during the Red Raids. 2 years of labor, and we still have a long way to go. The work stoppage and chain scrape nearly halted our rebuilding efforts. But I hear a certain Nora got them back to work.
I was just helping out.
Yes, well, I'm sure Ulvund was thrilled. Stand aside, soldier.
Sir?
Oh, look who gets to go past your wall.
There's the commander. Better brace yourself. And good luck.
Why the Sun King believes we can have peace with these barbarians?
Now, please keep in mind what I have said multiple times throughout this playthrough, which is that people have tried to bias us into what this guy is like. So we are going to do our best to shed ourselves of the preconceived notions we have based on information that other people have given and engage with him authentically and let him show himself to us.
Beyond me. Agreed. Alas, it is not our place to question his radiance.
How are we to hold an embassy with a tribe that can't even govern their own people?
What more can you expect from barbarians?
Ahem.
Ah. Aloy, was it?
Yes. The one who cleared the valley for you? That Aloy.
I hate decorum as much as the next person. Okay, I do. I hate them. I hate decorum. I hate niceties. I hate the stupid bullshit that people I do to perpetuate certain roles and importance and blah, blah, blah. You gotta play the game. You gotta play the game sometimes. You gotta work with it, because Aloy's gotten her way in this life by pushing and being abrasive and kicking the door in, jumping in feet. I mean, she's busted her ass. She's gotten where she's gotten because she believes in herself and because she believes that what she has to do and say is important. She thinks that because she knows all the things that she knows, her mission, she's on a mission from God, and coming in here that aggressively is not the way. I'm not suggesting that Aloy has to get on her hands and knees and kiss Studious Wadis' feet. I'm not suggesting that she has to be, she does not have to be a kiss ass. She does not have to be that. It is okay to be assertive. It's okay to hold your own. But there's a difference between real aggression and assertiveness. I do also want to acknowledge that Aloy is a woman standing in the midst of two men. And unfortunately, there are absolutely times when women have to be extra aggressive and do have to kick the door in because men are dolts and get up their own asses and think their shit doesn't stink and won't listen otherwise. Completely acknowledge that that is absolutely a dynamic that Aloy is up against. Because men ostensibly do still hold a lot of power and privilege in this world. But again, you allow yourself leeway to get there if you need to. She has a reputation that precedes her that she can leverage. Not necessarily with Wadis, but I bet she does with this guy. And at the very least, people know who she is. They know that she led the Battle of Meridian. So she holds a level of importance here already. So allow your reputation and all of the assumptions that people make as the result of that to precede you, and try to leverage that. And if that doesn't work and she needs to get aggressive, she can do that. It's not the way, in my opinion, the way she's handling this, it's not the way I would do it. Not the way I would suggest somebody do it.
We appreciate your service. At least we are ready for the embassy to begin.
Didn't you just give the signal?
Both sides must signal readiness. Until the Tenakth sound their horn, we wait.
Yea, for as the first shall be...
Shut up. Why the delay?
The Tenakth are a tribe composed of 3 clans. How many banners do you see?
You're just gonna wait? Go find out what's wrong.
Oh, this isn't some forgotten corner of the East where you come from, Nora. It's the Forbidden West. If you don't like it, run back to Meridian, file a complaint.
The Meridian I saved, you mean?
That's right. Nobody walks to the gate until the 3rd clan arrives and the Tenakth horn has sounded.
Okay. Look. Is it frustrating? Yes. But man, look, one of Aloy's core faults that she's really got to work on. I know it seems like I'm being critical. Aloy's got a lot of good shit going on, okay? But one of Aloy's critical issues is that she tends to get very tunnel vision-y about things. There is real diplomacy and complex dynamics between the Karja in this case and the Tenakth there is a procedure that they use in order to engage in these embassies. They have made the signal. The Tenakth are supposed to have 3 flags that raise. They have not raised the 3rd flag. If Aloy jumps over that wall and runs out into the Forbidden West, which the Tenakth don't know anything about who she is, as far as we know. So she's literally a nobody. So as far as they're concerned, she's either Karja or she's an arm of the Karja. She could cause a diplomatic mess. She could start a war. Like, is it annoying that we have to go through all this decorum and bullshit in order to, like, get this embassy started? Yeah. Very annoying. I don't love it either. But this is in place for some reason. This is what has been agreed upon. And Aloy believing that she's more important than everybody else and bulldozing her way through here and basically being like, screw your rules and decorum. I'm going whether you like it or not. So suck my ass is not great. Especially if she is really attempting to try to be this person who saves everybody. Like, she could really cause a lot of harm by doing this. That could absolutely be seen as an act of aggression, and the Tenakth may no longer want to work with the Karja, and then what? So, I get it. But Aloy's got to rein it in. I understand that she thinks what she's doing is important. I understand that. And what she is doing is important. She has more context than anybody else in this entire world does, aside from maybe Silence, about what's happening. Also, we haven't seen any blight out here yet. So it's not like the blight is immediately encroaching upon us and people are desperate. Part of the reason that people are still willing to engage in decorum is because they're not desperate. People lose decorum when survival dictates the need to lose decorum. But for right now, the fact that we're even engaging in all this bullshit and Studious Wadi had this escort and it shows that we're not in immediate danger. Or Aloy could explain why it's very important for her to do what she's doing, which maybe she will do so that they can make a decision of whether, like, how, if you're going to break protocol, how are you going to do it? But look, I hate rules, I hate decorum, but I gotta side with the rules and decorum here. I totally understand why they are doing what they're doing. I understand his caution. Aloy just heard about the Tenakth 2 days ago.
Not even the savior of Meridian.
Lucky for you, the savior of Meridian still has a few things she wants to take care of.
No way.
Might be worth another look around the Daunt before the embassy.
So I'm just gonna guns blaze my way through here, huh? Holy crap, that's gonna make for a hell of a part 7. I really thought we were gonna get to the Forbidden West tonight. Holy shit. Thank you all for taking the time. I'm not joking. I know some people probably think I'm joking on this. I really appreciate y'all taking the time. I know it's a little bit of a shorter episode tonight. We can see the Forbidden West, and this is we're gonna come in guns blazing here on part 7. So, ooh baby. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this playthrough as we inch along. I'm really honestly amazed that we're going to be 7 episodes in and I'm not even in the Forbidden West yet. God. This has been so awesome though. I mean, there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. And when there's stuff to talk about, I'm going to do it. So thank you all for supporting this playthrough. Thank you for the thumbs ups. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for for following all the links in the description. If you're mad about the cliff, please don't give me a thumbs down for the cliffhanger. All right, like it's just the episode 7 is going to be right around the corner. If you're binging it, you can hop right over. If you're waiting for it to come out, we'll get it out as fast as we can. All right, I know that these cliffhangers can be pretty frustrating, but we're gonna have some fun in part 7. So thank you for all of your support. If you financially support the stream in any kind of way, thank you very much for doing that. I do hope that what I had to offer tonight via analysis was meaningful in some way. I will catch you on the next one.